Thank you so much for being here tonight. The annual meeting is such a special part of an electric cooperative. It's a great opportunity for members to come together, just like members did back in the early days of the cooperative, to visit with your board of directors, to visit with employees, and just really be involved and engaged in your electric cooperative. We so much appreciate you being here this evening. It's my privilege this evening to update you on several things. I'll touch on the highlights of our financial performance for the last year, also talk about the board recommendation to amend our articles of incorporation, and then I'll talk also about our service reliability and things we're doing to improve that, as well as the rate stability, and wrap up with some of the new and exciting energy services type programs that we have for our members. Well, the co-op has certainly changed a lot over the last several years. We now serve over 27,000 consumers across our large electric service territory. We have 5,732 miles of power line to serve our members, and we have 74 dedicated employees to serve you, our members. Very pleased this evening to report that 2015 was another good year financially for Lake Region Electric Cooperative. We had a bottom line total margin of over $3.1 million for the year. With that strong margin, that again continued to increase our equity in the cooperative. We closed out 2015 with $46 million of equity on our balance sheet. A year to date here in 2016, we're at $47 million. If you look back on the chart as it shows, back in 2005 we had $23 million, closed out 2015 with $46 million. Our equity has doubled since 2005. With that strong balance sheet and equity position, once again, your board of directors approved a capital credit retirement last year for our members, over $1 million. So if you were on our lines, as we say, back in 1989 and 1990, you would have received a capital credit retirement. That's 3 consecutive years now of over $1 million in capital credit retirements back to the members. And in the rich history of our co-op, we've now retired over $23 million back to the membership. I want to highlight just a couple things on the balance sheet of the co-op. The top line, the big number there, the total utility plant, $122 million. The total utility plant, that represents all those poles, all those wires, underground cable, transformers, substation equipment, everything it takes to serve our 27,000 members. Also would like to point out how that's growing over the years. This year, for example, alone, we'll invest about $6.5 million back into plant and equipment to make sure that your electrical service is safe and reliable to meet your needs. Also would like to point out the long-term debt line item there on the balance sheet. You'll notice the asterisk there, long-term debt, $53 million, and the asterisk is defined at the bottom. That is our 2015 total long-term debt of $75 million, less the prepaid cushion of credit account that we have $21 million in. I want to just explain that. The Rural Utilities Service, or RUS as we call it, which is the former REA, you may be perhaps more familiar with that term. That's who we borrow a lot of our dollars from to build new plant and equipment for the membership. So what they do is they have a cushion of credit account that we can put money into, and that's prepaying our future principal and interest payments back to the RUS. So the way they account for that is they net that out on that long-term debt line item. So it's the $75 million debt less the 21 to get down to the 53. And the dollars that we put in there it's an interest-bearing account. It's kind of like if you're at your local bank, if you have a loan and a savings account, an interest-bearing account, and they just net the two down on the one line there. Kind of a unique way to do the accounting. At Lake Region, we spend a lot of time thinking about our future and preparing for the future for our membership. We know that we're going to continue to invest heavily in our infrastructure and our total utility plant. Typically, that's about $40 to $50 million over a 10-year period. Just recently, your board has approved a new 3-year work plan for us that'll allow us to reinvest about $21 million back into plant equipment to make sure our system is reliable and safe to meet your needs. As we've been talking in the newsletter and at our district meetings this winter, we are approaching this debt current borrowing limit in our articles of incorporation, and that's why the board of directors is recommending the change that has been put forth for your consideration and your vote. One of the reasons we are approaching that debt limit has to do with how the Rural Utilities Service, again, that's the former REA, defines debt. I want to give you an example of how they use the definition of debt. Back in 1997, for example, the co-op built a new headquarters and borrowed $7.5 million to pay for that building. Next February, we will have that loan completely paid off. We currently owe actual debt on that note of $800,000 and pay it off in February. Well, when the RUS looks at our debt portfolio, they use the original face value of each loan. The $7.5 million, even though we actually only owe $800,000. So because of that and how they define that debt, you can see how that kind of pushes up our debt limit, and that's pushing us up against the limit in our articles of incorporation. So the proposed borrowing capacity changes would replace with a new process requiring a board resolution where the board of directors would actually set the debt limit for the cooperative, keeping control with you, the members who elect the board of directors, and requiring additional board member engagement and scrutiny around the debt. The last year or so, the board of directors has spent a lot of time on this issue. They've developed a debt management policy that if this amendment is approved by the membership, that debt management policy would guide the decision-making for the board. For example, in that debt management policy, there's a lot of key financial ratios that the board has to follow to make sure that your cooperative stays financially strong, right levels of equity, right levels of debt, and kind of hitting that sweet spot that Charles mentioned earlier with our financials. We also have an overall financial management plan that also guides the financial direction of the cooperative and has led to things like our doubling of our equity over the last 10 years or so. So the new would provide the board of directors the flexibility that they need to meet the RUS requirements, also secure the lowest cost possible financing for us, and also keeping that decision local with your board of directors. I want to just give you one snapshot of an example of what I'm talking about in terms of the financial ratios in this debt management policy. I really like this one. It shows the co-op's debt relative to the total utility plan. So it's debt relative to all those assets we have out there to serve you. The first line on this chart, the blue line, we went back to 1984 and charted out the total utility plan of the cooperative to today and on into the future into 2024. And you can see that's just, the line just keeps increasing. The co-op is growing, our plant is aging, we need to upgrade a lot of things, poles, wires, etc. So you can see that just continues to grow over time. The red line represents the debt of the cooperative, and you can see its pattern as well out to 2024. But what I want to show you is the relationship between the total utility plant and the debt. You can see over here it was fairly flat. In the middle of the screen it went up and has some volatility to it. And then in the last several years it's come down nicely, and going forward it really smooths out. And that's the kind of the glide path that the board is going to follow in setting this debt limit. And what all this means for us as members is that for every $1 that we have of total utility plant out there, the debt will have to be less than 50 cents. And I think that's a kind of a best way I can come up with to kind of explain how the board will use that debt management policy to guide their decision making going forward. Well, the proper use of borrowing is part of a strong financial management plan. Infrastructure projects today are very expensive. They're one-time investments back into plant equipment that last for decades. A good example of the cost of infrastructure today for 1 mile of that three-phase overhead power line is about $75,000. When we need to upgrade a substation, like we did a few years ago at the Parker's Prairie substation, that was about a $438,000 project. Again, a big one-time investment, so it'll last for decades. So borrowing allows us to prove reliability and ability to serve our members, and we'll pay for that over a longer period of time. Much like buying a house, buy a house today, my family gets the benefits of living in that house, and we'll pay for it over time. The investment in infrastructure has also led to increased reliability for Lake Region by reducing those outage times for our members. This chart shows the trend over the last several years. If you go back to 2004, for example, On average, in 2004, every member of the cooperative had outage times of about 4.4 hours. And you can see how that has come down nicely over the years. We finished up 2015 at 1.95 hours per member across the whole cooperative. That is a 55% reduction in outage times over that period of time. A lot of work has been done, a lot of infrastructure upgrades, a lot of pole changeouts, a lot of underground cable has been replaced. But really the big item that really helped us with our reliability was the tremendous amount of work we've done in tree clearing. This is a before and after picture of a line that obviously before we trimmed it, was in the trees were in the power line, and it shows the nice clearing after it's done. If you look at the before picture, about 6-7 years ago, we did a statistical analysis across our whole system to get our hands around what it was going to take to get around all of our miles of line over a 5-year period and do this type of clearing. What we learned was we had 148,000 trees that were either in the power line or would be in the power line based on their growth rate in the next 5 years. So we spent a tremendous amount of time and money to get around our whole system. We completed that. Our vegetation management budget costs have dropped about $1 million this last year now that we've completed that first cycle. And now we're on a 4-year cycle now. Really made a difference in terms of our reliability for the membership. We know there is going to be outages from time to time, and we know that's a stressful situation when you're without power. We want to make sure we're communicating the best we can during those outage times. So we've got a relatively new program. It's an outage notification program. Would encourage you to sign up for this if you haven't. It's a free service. You can call into the office or get signed up on our website. But now we have the capability to send emails or text messages during the power outage. So for example, if my house was out of power right now, I'd get a text message on my phone, and I would know the time the outage happened, the number of customers who are out of power. And here's what I really like. It gives the member an estimated time of power restoration. So I think members really appreciate it. If you know it's going to be back on in an hour and a half or 2 hours, it kind of takes the stress out of it. You know we're on it, and you know we're going to be there soon to get it fixed. So it's a nice service. Just encourage you to consider signing up for that. If you want more detail, you can click on that green box down there at the bottom of that phone, and that large screen will come up on your phone, and you can see the actual area that's affected by the outage. And you see that little kind of yellow hard hat on there. That's a really good sign. That means a crew has been assigned to that outage, and the truck is either on its way or will be there shortly. So hopefully the power will be back on shortly after that truck gets dispatched. One of the things we probably spend as much time on anything at Lake Region is keeping your rates stable. We want to make sure that we're keeping our costs down and having stable rates for you. Good news, as Charles mentioned, no rate changes this year. We have not changed our base rates since the beginning of 2013. Our off-peak heating rates have not changed since 2008. We anticipate stability through the end of 2016. Beyond that, we're in pretty good shape today. We do know that the wholesale cost of electricity is going to continue to increase, and if we do need to make rate changes in the coming years, that will be the driver. In fact, your board of directors has authorized a cost of service study that we're doing this year to analyze all of our rates, all of our revenue streams, and all of our costs to see if and when we need to make some rate changes. Best guess, maybe a small type of adjustment in a couple of years in maybe towards the end of 2017, 2018 would be our best guess, but it's not going to be, it won't be big jumps. Wanted to point out a real positive thing for our cooperative. In the economy these days, and with all the energy efficiency, a lot of utility sales aren't really growing much. We're fortunate we do have some growth. We're not a high-growing cooperative, but we do have some growth that really helps us keep our rates stable. And this slide just shows you the variety of types of customers and members that we have. We're fortunate we have some growth in the residential area as people move out into the country, build homes, or on a lake, build a new home. We've got a great, strong agricultural sector. We've seen some growth over the years in grain handling and grain storage and grain drying, as well as things like the sugar beet pilers and the irrigation accounts. We put in 300 new electric services since 2007 just for irrigation. We've seen great growth in the industrial sector. We serve the ethanol plant just down the road here. Well, that's been a great customer for us. And we're also seeing some growth in the commercial area. We've got a new hotel that's being built in the Dunvilla area that we will serve. And the proposed Star Lake Resort and Casino is in our service territory, and we would serve that if that comes to fruition and is built there. So we've got some good growth. It does help us keep our rates stable. Our power comes from Great River Energy. It's a generation cooperative that Lake Region and 27 other distribution cooperatives across Minnesota own. As Charles mentioned, Ken Hendricks is our board member who serves on the Great River Energy Board. About a year ago, we got some good news there that their forecast that did say 3% increase per year for the wholesale rates has been lowered down to 1.5% per year going forward. 1.5% is much easier to manage than 3, obviously, and that's good news for us. As far as where the electricity comes from that Great River Energy produces for us, 72% comes from coal, 8% from hydro, 12% from wind, and a small 1% from natural gas. Looking forward, in terms of the future power supply from Great River Energy, we're going to see less coal. About last summer, Great River Energy exited a contract that they had with a plant, a coal-fired power plant in Wisconsin called Genoa 3. We're no longer buying coal-fired power from that plant. We're going to probably have more hydro. GRE has signed a memorandum of understanding with Manitoba Hydro to purchase more hydro power in the future. And we will certainly see more energy in the future coming from renewable sources like wind and solar. Partnering with members, just like in the beginning days of the cooperative, we have so much opportunity to work with our members and partner with members. I'm really excited about some of the new things that we're doing. I just want to highlight some of those. But at Lake Region Electric, we really want to be your local trusted energy advisor. And we've used a lot of technology and innovation to develop new programs that help you manage your energy dollars the best you can. One of the things we've done is we've built 3 solar arrays, and I want to talk a little bit more about those on the next slide. We also have an LED lighting program. It's very easy. It's very simple for members. If you want to convert your older incandescent style type lights to LED, we have a great program for you. You can call our office, go onto our website. We've got an online store. You can go on there and click and select the bulbs that you need. We'll ship them right to your house. It's very easy, very simple. You don't have to write a check. You don't have to use a credit card, anything like that. We'll put a small charge on your electric bill till they're paid for, and you can enjoy the savings of less kilowatt hours used to light your home. The picture on the lower left-hand side there is a picture of one of our power linemen installing a geothermal loop at a member's new home. How cool is that? Our employees have been cross-trained to do new things as the industry changes, and we have a geothermal program. If you're interested in any type of heating and cooling systems for your home, would strongly encourage you to talk to our energy services professionals at Lake Region. They're terrific and can really help you as an energy advisor there. We think electric vehicles will become more popular in the future, and when they do, we want to be prepared for that. We have a new electric rate for that will encourage members who have electric vehicles to charge them in the off-peak periods instead of on our peak, which would drive up our cost. I want to talk just a little bit more about our solar program. It's been a really big success. This is a picture of our headquarters in Pelican Rapids with the 3 different solar arrays that our employees of Lake Region have built, and the pride and ownership that they take of doing this is just terrific for Lake Region Electric. When the board of directors approved the business plan for us to get into the solar business, there was one main theme that we had to achieve. If we're going to get into the solar business and do this, it has to be good for all members, and it in fact is. The first solar array that we built, the one that's closest at the top of the screen there, closest to the headquarters, it's a community solar program where members can buy a subscription and receive the renewable energy out of that solar array for the next 20 years. We built that. It was very successful. It's sold out, and members fully subscribed to the array. So we built a second unit, and the same thing happened. Members liked it, and it's fully subscribed and sold out. The third unit we actually built for Great River Energy. Great River Energy wanted to get a small solar array at every one of their distribution co-ops around the state. Since we're already in the solar business, we built it for them and they paid us to build that. It was a good thing. This summer, we're looking at adding on here a little bit. We're going to build a small solar unit. It's kind of a test unit. We're going to do something different. All of these arrays, of course, point south to maximize the production during kind of that middle part of the day. We're going to build a small unit and collect data on it this summer, and we're going to tilt it a little bit to the west and see what the data tells us and what the production is during that late afternoon period, early evening. That's when we peak. That's when our costs for electricity are the highest, and maybe this solar could be used to shave some of that peak. We want to analyze the value of that, and we think that might be part of a new program perhaps in the future for our members as well. And we're also entertaining the idea of maybe expanding the business to actually install solar at members' individual homes if they want us to do that. And so stay tuned to what our future plans are for solar. If you have interest in solar, we would love to talk with you about that. It'd be really great if we could do another solar unit of some sort next year. In conclusion, I just want to say what a privilege it is to serve as your CEO, on behalf of all of your board of directors and the wonderful employees at Lake Region. I just hope that you feel like we are committed to serving you. And if you ever have anything that you need to talk to us about, please give us a call, and we'll work hard to serve you the best that we can. Thank you very much. There's so many great experiences working at an electric cooperative, and what I'd like to do at this time, it's my privilege to present the Lake Region Electric Cooperative Powerline Worker Veteran Scholarship Award. This is the third year we've presented this scholarship. This idea for this scholarship was inspired by a member of Lake Region Electric, and through the generosity of Lake Region members, Lake Region employees, and the community at large, we were able to have some fundraisers to raise some dollars to fund this scholarship. So at this time, it's my pleasure to present this scholarship to Specialist Michael Harrington. Michael, could you please come forward? I'll present you with your $1,500 Powerline Worker Veteran Scholarship. We wanted to provide a scholarship to people who have served our country like Michael, who are in power line worker school right now, training to become a power line worker, hopefully for a cooperative someday. Michael has spent 3 years in the Army National Guard, and he is in the 2-year program at the college in Wadena and completed your first year. So first of all, just let me thank you for your service and congratulate you on this $1,500 scholarship. Thank you. Yeah, you want to say anything?
Thank you. I'm real proud to take this scholarship. It's a real honor for me, and I'm real happy I'm doing what I'm working to become doing. Thank you all very much. God bless.
I would like to thank Tim for his presentation, but more importantly, I'd like to thank him for the strong leadership that he has provided to our co-op this past 8 years.